Hello everybody, I am Conquering History Games and welcome to another guide on the channel. Today I am going to be showing you a guide, an introductory guide for the Commonwealth of New Mareland and its plethora of different paths that you can take it down. Now, as some of you may not know, on my Patreon, people who donate $5 or more a month get to pick the subject of a guide. And so this guide was sponsored by Pirate Waffle. Thank you very much, Pirate Waffle. And incidentally, I am conducting an experiment this month. During the month of April, it is ad-free April. I am monetizing none of my videos. And I want to see how many people, if they want to see the channel succeed, grow, continue, whatever you want to call it, please feel free to donate at the Patreon, which is linked below. And if I can get to a certain goal, I would be more than happy to permanently demonetize YouTube. Now, this decision will actually result in me getting much less money than I have before, incidentally. But I would not feel so compelled to deal with YouTube algorithms and the possibility of adpocalypses and things like that. I would not be beholden to them. Just throwing that out there. Just an experiment for them. Anyway, let's get started because I anticipate that this is going to be a very long guide. This is current as of version Ponies at the Ready 1.38.6.1. We're going to come over here to the Commonwealth of New Mareland. And also, for those of you who still haven't seen it for some reason, this patch is where they brought in, not counting the April Fool's patch, but this is where they have finally brought in the 3D models of actual ponies, including voice acting, which I guess you can't hear when you first...
lands must be preserved.
Yeah, should be able to hear it.
Answering the call. Our lands must be preserved.
Yes, the lands must be preserved and whatnot. So I guess I will actually start by reading the welcome screen. No, that's going to take too long. This is going to be a long enough video already. I'm sure. Just check the time and you'll see. Anyway, so the most important thing that you need to know about the Commonwealth of New Mareland is that it is a dominion of Equestria, which is of course the primary country in the game. It's what the whole series is based around. And it has been created by colonizing ponies from centuries ago. So sort of think of it mostly influenced by Australia. So it's one of the few pony nations on this continent of Griffonia, which, as the name implies, is mostly inhabited by griffins. And being a pony minority on this griffin continent is a large part of what drives New Mareland. Let's start, though, by looking at... We have a lot of stuff, a lot of political paths that we need to look at, but I want to first go over all the stuff we can on day one, the stuff that crosses over several trees, just so we can save time later. Now, first off, let's check out the national spirits. You are going through a Great Depression. It's been going on for, I think, 8 years at the start of the game. This is going to increase your consumer good factories 20%. Your stability is down by 10%. Factory output and dockyard output is both down by 25%. You also have griffin minorities. It is a majority of ponies in this area, but there are griffins who were already there when the ponies landed, and there's also griffins that have immigrated into the country. But there's issues that come along with that. Some people are not fans of them hanging around, and so as a result, you know, it's disruptive, like it says. So recruitable population factor is down by 25%, and that is and that, as we will see, is one of the biggest problems that you have to deal with as New Mareland. Is you have a severe shortage of pony power. Even though you have a lot of other advantages, particularly military advantages and like the technology and things like that, you could have the best guns in the world, but if you don't have a pony to hold it, you've got a problem, basically. So you also have the Equestrian Overlord trait. So this is something that is in addition to you being a dominion of Equestria. It takes away half a point of political power gain, as well as reducing your war support by 10% and your research speed by 15%. Not the worst trait that you're ever going to see here on Griffonia by far, but it is not fun to have. and you start exactly in the middle between becoming a I forget what the term is, like when it's the not a puppet, but you know what I mean. You're right between free and then whatever this is, which I'm forgetting. Damn, that's annoying. I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember the democratic term for it. Let's say puppet. Let's just say puppet. Now then, you start on volunteer only, export focus, and civilian economy. You are a developed science base in a modern society, so that's pretty cool. And of course, you are a pony race, so when you come over here, you have access to all the pony technologies, including SI already, obviously. Okay, in terms of your army, you start with 7 divisions, including 1 Pegasus division, and then you just have these like Royal New Mareland Guards, which are just 10 width with artillery. The rest are just district militia, which are not even 10 width. So you have a couple of other templates already available to you. Obviously, the Pegasi are there, and you have the On Hooves division, which will usually be your primary type of infantry division that you're going to build off of. Of course, you can just do your own thing. Now, in terms of decisions, there's nothing too different here, except that you can put rubber plantations if you have enough civilian factories to do so, and the political power, of course. And you also are able to develop some more tungsten if you have excavation 2 already. But nothing too fancy there. You start with 3 technology slots, which is cool. Could be worse. And you're part of Pan Equestrian Research because you are part of the United Ponies Alliance at the start of the game, which is based out of Equestria. A lot of different factions you can course of the game or create. Same, you could also create your own. Construction, you have 8 civilian factories, but most of them are in use out of the start of the game because of the Great Depression and being at a civilian economy. Although you get 2% less because you are at 79% stability at the start, which is pretty good, although you're only at 25% war support. And in terms of military factories, you start with 4 as well as access to these technologies. Technologically, you do much better than a lot of other nations. For example, you actually start with Infantry Equipment 1. Also a lot of fun, unique designs here. You have engineering and reconnaissance. That's going to be key later on. You do start with the Great War Tank. You've got anti-air and anti-tank guns in addition to your standard artillery. You have the first... by the way, I'm going to try to put some timestamps in at some point within the... Probably, I won't want to say in the next 24 hours when this goes up, but probably within the next week when it goes up, because I'm going to have a very busy few days after I record this. So anyway, you've got trench warfare here on Grand Battle Plan Doctrine. Of course, there's nothing stopping you from researching other paths, and in fact, as we will see, you sometimes do not get bonuses to the Grand Battle Plan research, so you gotta go do something else. Or wait. Never mind. Yeah, well, yeah, that is true. Okay, so these are your Navy stuff that you get. Some of there is a technology here that you're gonna be able to get automatically. Let me go find that right away. Yeah, degaussing. You probably don't want to research this yourself, because you have a tech that gives it to you automatically. You also start with the first one of Fleet in Being done. You have access to your standard bombers and fighters, as well as the 1007 naval bomber, basically Naval Bomber 1. And I think that's it. I think that's all the technology you get earlier. Well, which is actually quite a lot compared to other Equestria War countries, especially in Griffonia, as any experienced Equestria War player will tell you. Alright, so what else was I gonna bring up? Oh yeah, and you have a slight deficit of infantry equipment at the beginning. So, let's actually get into the fun stuff, shall we? The focus tree. Actually, wait, there's one more thing I want to do, so I don't forget. At the start, you only have 1 field marshal, one of my favorite designs, by the way, Moonlight Poppy. Moonlight Poppy has a unique trait, like many generals in Equestria War. She is a master of psychology, so she gets additional division organization as well as division recovery. She's a level 2 field marshal with 3 skill attack, 2 skill defense, 4 skill planning, and 2 skill supply consumption. And of course, you can give her a couple of traits later. Then you've got a few, although this number will grow or shrink depending on who you play as. And I'm not going to go over every single general you can play on every single political path, but this is very changeable. And they all have some interesting traits depending on what you want to do with them. So, for example, Candy Garden, max entrenchment plus 20%. Engineers are a key part of playing New Mareland usually, so he's pretty good in that respect. Nightlight Charm is going to give you more reinforce rate, so you can stack this and the Poppy and some other stuff. You have Sunny Shield for your infantry officer experience gain, so he could be a good one to grind up. And then Earthberry Crust, who is your commando and also has skill level 3 as far as supply consumption goes, which just ties him with a Night Life Charm. So he's not spectacular, but it could be good for your special forces. It just depends on what you do and where you're going to end up going. Might end up being much better when the Zebra Nation comes in. I shouldn't talk about that because I think I last heard that that's super duper long term. I shouldn't have brought that up. My bad. Well, let's just pick one of them. Doesn't matter who. So this is your focus tree. It's pretty big. It's a big country, seeing as we're 10 minutes into this and I haven't even started talking about this. So what we're going to generally do here is work left to right. Not politically, but geographically. And as I talk about what we are dealing with here. So first, let's start with the easy stuff. Your Army, Navy, and Air Force trees. You have some super powerful Army tree stuff here. So for example, right out of the gate, you can get 25 Army experience and a research bonus for your land doctrine. So that's going to let you modify your divisions as needed. Usually you're going to want to put some more support troops in there or something, but whatever it is you want to do. And you basically have some research bonuses for everything here. So for example, here you can get you can get a one-time research bonus for motorized, reducing the ahead of time penalty by a full year, as well as giving you a 100% research bonus. The Sentinel project's pretty nice, 100% research bonuses, but there is no taking away of ahead of time penalty, so you're not going to be able to really game the system too much, which is something I like to do, so that's why I notice. Walkie-talkies, this is really interesting because you could get a reduced ahead of time penalty of 2 years and 100% research bonus on the next electronic you research, as well as getting one for signal bonuses, so that could be really interesting. And I'm not going to go into the details because this is just an intro guide, but if you min-max things properly, you can get way down here on your electronics tree as far as helping yourself get a research bonus really early. And that could be especially key for these ones here, the Improved Computing Machine and Advanced Computing Machine, which in Equestria War each give you an 8% research bonus. Although actually I think that was something that was done in vanilla, because now there's a lot more to research, so they just buffed everything a little bit. Anyway, you have the Bits gun just for your infantry there. This gives you artillery, so you see it's all pretty standard stuff. The Royal Colonial Marines give you a land doctrine and marine technology. Then this is a pretty interesting one, the Royal Military Academy Sunset, which all your new army leaders, and sometimes you might find yourself, there's some paths you can take where you're only going to have one general, all the others are gone. And so you're going to have to hire more, of course, and this gives a +1 to their planning skills, so that's kind of cool. Then you have the NMAX Spirit, which gives you a few different buffs: recruitable population factor 10%, recruitable population +1%, and increases the recovery rate, as well as increasing your max entrenchment. So this could be a good one to save you if you don't want to spend political power on increasing to limited conscription right away. You can grab this instead, and you also get some other bonuses along the way. NMAX stands for New Mareland Army Corps, in case you didn't know that. Then there is the New Mareland Army Catering Corps, which gives you 300% research bonuses for the logistics company, as well as reducing their head of time penalty by a year. So as you can see, depending on what kind of support you want to go, you get a lot of different bonuses here. Case in point, this is for the engineering, where you'll get a 2-year reduced ahead of time penalty and a 300% research bonus, again, for the 2 engineers. So you can get the early ones super fast, or you could min-max it in a different way and find yourself, like if we go over here to the research, you can get really deep into here, although it's just a +2, +2, +2 each time. There's not a big jump anywhere. And obviously this is a guide, so that's why I'm using the Focus Autocomplete. This isn't a game, although by the time you're watching this, I should, in addition to my 2 live streams of New Mareland I've done in the past, there should also be a new series up where I'm taking the Equalist route, which I'll talk about later. So another land doctrine research bonus, and then Section Z, which is which is a fun one. The battle may be hard. It will bleed us till we're dry. The enemies will be arduous, but we shall adapt and we shall overcome for the glory of New Mareland. All your special forces get bonuses in some traditionally difficult areas to move in, the jungles, the forest, and urban areas, as well as getting a 300% research bonus on either Marines or Airborne. Not Mountaineers for some reason, but whatever. And you get that same 300%, no, it's not 300, it's a 100% research bonus, but it's also reducing the ahead time penalty by 2 years for the reconnaissance companies. So virtually every, like you see right here. So like you see, just taking that one, this is now going to take only 88 days for me to get the 1010 engineering, just as an example of what I'm talking about. So you can get bonuses to engineering, reconnaissance, logistics, and signal. Pretty good. You got almost everything covered. Speaking of which, in your industrial concerns, you have your standard industrial and electronics research speed bonuses. Wait, no way, I'm looking at the wrong thing. But a material designer is what I meant to say. You have artillery, motorized, and infantry, which is pretty standard stuff. But you also get the support equipment company, possibly designer, which is a 10% on all your support unit research speed. So, again, I'm not telling you how to play, but you can get a lot of different infantry templates going on as New Mareland. All right. Let's go ahead and take that. Now, time to talk about the Navy. So your Navy is probably going to be a lesser priority, especially when you think about population, but after you get some dockyards here, you then have a choice between commerce protection and Sea Wolves. So Sea Wolves is, of course, going to give you the submarine operation stuff, and over here is Fleet and Being and Convoy Defense Doctrine. What's kind of interesting here is you already start with the Fleet and Being First Naval Doctrine technology researched. I showed you that earlier. But if you take Sea Wolves, this is kind of cool. Then come over here. Oops. There it is. You get submarine operations, get a research bonus. So if you're gonna do Fleet and Being, you still get that. That's pretty cool. And then the rest of this is pretty standard stuff, just research bonuses. The one that's pretty interesting here is the Naval Auxiliary Patrol, which gives you a 50% naval coastal fort construction speed bonus, and you also get 2 land forts and 2 coastal forts on every core naval base. So I just took that right now. Let me be clear, I'm talking about naval bases, but if we go to Sunset here, oops, or Mainbourne here, you get 2 land forts, 2 coastal forts. But over here at Appellade, you get nothing. It's not just that it's a city by the sea, it has to have a naval base, but if the code is working properly, in theory, you could, if you put like a naval base everywhere here along the entire coast, it would all be forts and coastal forts, which is an interesting thing. Besides that, nothing too spectacular here, although here is the degaussing technology I was talking about. See, so you get that automatically. We go over here to the technology tree, and there it is. It's been researched. If you don't like mines, there you go. Okay, next up, the RNMAF Stratus Springs is the start of your air tree, which a little bit blends with your industry tree, but not too much. So the first one just gives you some air bonuses. Now, here's once again, you can get some big bonuses, reduced ahead of time penalty by 2 years, and 100% research bonus for the Skywind, the Boom Blast, the Mustang, or the Griffaroo. Here. Again, it just depends on what you want to grab and fast. So in this case, so like you can go all the way up to here to Fighter 3 really quickly, depending on how you use that bonus and when you grab it. You'll notice you're not allowed to take the new South Bales air warning system. That's because you radio first, but then it'll automatically give you some radar. And you also have an air defense network. This is really interesting because this is not something you see very often, where a country can get anti-air built in through its focus tree. So that's cool. Okay. But that's about it. Oh, what am I saying? That's about it. Meaning, as far as research bonuses, everything is kind of the same, but you also get these amazing bonuses. So, for example, here, the Long Range Air Patrol, essentially everything, not everything, but essentially everything, gets a plus 10% in range, including your fighters, because I know that sometimes that's something I think of, when I want longer range fighters. So you could have longer range regular fighters, or if you don't want to do that, if you want to do heavy fighters like I sometimes want to do, when I've got a huge area to cover, you can go with them. And then there's Fly or Die, fighter production cost minus 10%. That's just always nice. You also get naval ones here too. So if you're coming over here and you want to do carriers or something, which would be a little weird, but you do have a carrier bonus here. You could then also got to come over here to scout the seas, and then depending on, you could do either one of these, and it'll bring you down here to get your air doctrine bonus. So if you're not doing Navy stuff, you just take fly or die, but you could take them both. They're not mutually exclusive. Now, fighter competitions is going to be needed, so you can fund bombardiers, which gets into strategic bombing, as well as giving you a bonus military factory, but for that you also need the Little Hoof small arms factory. Okay, now we get into this industrial / political mobilization section of the tree, which can be a little bit tricky, and I've definitely made mistakes not playing this optimally, especially as some of you will see in that equality campaign. But what you have initial access to here is the national census, which is really sweet. That this is basically your anytime you want some quick political power, you grab this. Even if you're in the middle of doing something over here, never hurts to come grab this sometimes. Now, the thing is, I need to talk about what this tree is about. So this tree is about two things. It's about fixing this section of the tree, I should say. It's about fixing the Great Depression, and it's about mobilizing for war. So to get rid of the Great Depression, you need economic recovery. Now, you might say, well, look at that. That's right down there. The only thing that's required, as far as other focuses go, is either you need to have taken East Side Industrial Expansion or Every Little Helps. And it opens it. You don't need both. You just need one. But you can take both. It's just like over here. They're not mutually exclusive. But this is deceptively close because it also says here, you must have reduced the Great Depression 2 times. So you're not just going to instantly turn the Great Depression off. It's going to be incrementally fixed before it finally goes away. So for example, and I'm going to show you all the examples of it later, but for example, let's say you went with the patriation, but you still have Jet Set win the election. You take, wait, which ones are they? Oh yeah, here we go. You could fund Blue Heart, that modifies the Great Depression, and then you take the National Recovery Act, that modifies it again, and they've all got 2, and then you finally can come over here and take economic recovery. Now, over here, the small arms factory, flare plan, all of this is just giving you resources, factories, things like that, pretty standard fare until you get to the Great Depression. Then once you've fixed the Depression, you can get access to another research slot. Now, there are tons of research slots you can get over the course of this entire country, depending on what path you take. So all of them have a marker, though, that if you have 5 research slots, you don't get a 6th research slot. There's no, I know that there's mods, even sometimes in vanilla, you get situations where you can have 6. That's not going to happen here. They've coded it that way. All right, now before I go any further down here, we got to come back up here again and talk about the defense of the Commonwealth Act. So this is going to always be grayed out unless one of the following is true. You need to have MARESOC in control, the fascists in control. You have to be at war already, or the world tension has to be at more than 20%. Once you take this, you're going to get some war support, and then there's some defense of the Commonwealth Act stuff, which really doesn't matter. So for the purposes of going down this tree, I am going to do a little bit of console stuff. Just again for the sake of starting a war immediately. So we can, let's just dismiss that. So now you can take Defense of the Commonwealth Act, but it's going to be further along than this. This then opens up National Defense Company, and again, this is just standard industry stuff here, and then you can come down to economic recovery that way. Now, you can then get in Defense of Harmony. You're not allowed to send volunteer forces before you take this. This is letting New Mareland stop isolating itself and get involved in international affairs. So if you're somebody who wants to send volunteers to get some army experience, we can talk about that. Although you're probably going to have to keep your forces closer to home. Because, sorry, I yawned. It's just tired. It's a long day. I'm trying to record a ton of stuff. So your main enemy is usually going to be Wingbardy here, especially if it goes fascist, which it usually will do, and especially historical, right? And they are eventually going to attack you. As you see here, there's the Demand New Mareland, where they ask you to ask you to be absorbed by them, and if not, they go to war. You'll have the rest of the pact attack you as well. Usually. Now, over here is the National Mobilization Act, which you need the Defense of the Commonwealth Act, and you have to be either at war or something besides harmony. But once you've done that, you're actually allowed to finally change your conscription laws. So, for example, if I did something like this, you see, look at that, I've got 225. That's more than enough. I'm not allowed to go to limited conscription because I have not done National Mobilization Act yet, and that's also going to lower your stability, just as a heads up. So, continuing on down, there's Invest in Victory, just normal industry stuff, more industry stuff. And then once you've squashed the parasites, as well as economic recovery, you can then finally get full economic commitment. Now, what that is this is the one that lets you go into a war economy. Until you have the full economic commitment, the highest you can ever go is partial mobilization, and that also requires war support to do. So you end up getting locked out here. Expanding conscription. This is going to allow you to increase your conscription laws once again to a certain point, because right now, look, you see, you can go all the way up to extensive conscription, but you cannot go to service by requirement, all adults serve, or scraping the barrel. So, there's a limit to how far the National Mobilization Act will take you. The thing is, though, once you're through with all this stuff up here, including, by the way, glowhorn uranium mines, 200% research bonuses for nuclear technologies, if you're into that. You have this stuff down here. Now, I don't know why there's this mutually exclusive branch thing here, but basically these two are mutually exclusive and these two are mutually exclusive, and they all have to do with how the griffins in the country are being treated. So, for example, you can negotiate with the griffin clans, which will increase your recruitable population power by 18%, which once you do that, remember, it was at minus 25. Now it's at minus 7%. So it mitigates it a little bit, but you could also force griffin conscription, which will get rid of griffin minorities entirely as far as being a negative recruitable population thing, but the minorities are not going to be happy about it. And without going into too much detail, it's entirely possible that you will lose as much population as you gained because of that extra 7%. Now, on the other side, you have the Griffin Affairs Act, which gives you 6 building slots, so that's good because you're a small country, you need that space for factories, but you'll lose stability. Or you could do Griffin Working Regulations, which is going to continue to modify this Invest in Victory spirit over here, which you also modified here with Squash the Parasprites, giving you more resource gain efficiency, less consumer good factories, but lowering your stability. However, you also get more factory and dockyard output as a result of it. So you're going to want to think about which of these two you want. And now, I think we can finally start talking about the political branches. Get some notes here. So I'm going to, by the end of this video, I'm going to make sure you guys know at least 8. I think 8. 8 different political paths you could take as New Mareland. So there's tons and tons of real playability in this country. So this is very similar. Obviously, it's based on Australia. It's very similar to how Australia is in the base game, where you're going to first want to ask, do you want to stay loyal to the mother country and work with them, or never another Gallipoli, right? And come down here and take a different path. Well, first, let's look at strengthening the equestrian ties. So this is going to continue to bind you more to Equestria, although I think this is as good a moment as any to say I am not going to be covering this government and exile stuff and other things related to it that could happen, because this damn video is going to be long enough without it. This could be its own separate thing later. Let me know if you want to see me do that. Okay. So the strengthening the equestrian ties, this is not necessarily locking you into being a Dominion forever, but you are saying that you're going to continue to be part of the United Ponies Alliance. But there is ways to get out. It's going to be harder though, and like if you wanted to, well, it's like mixing and matching though, because there's some pretty strong bonuses going this path, as we'll see. For example, the Royal Visit. This is one of the first things you can take once you go down this path. You get some flexible options here, where you can have one of the princesses, one of the 4 princesses that's in Equestria, come and visit you, and you get a different bonus depending what it is. So, for example, Celestia gives you stability, Luna gives you pony power, Twilight gives you 2 100% research bonuses for race-specific technology. You're seeing, I hope you guys are starting to see what I'm talking about when I was saying how you could easily have some of the best weaponry in the world, the best divisions in the world. The problem is going to be finding people to occupy it. Or you could have Princess Cadence come to get some quick political power. Something, it doesn't matter. Anyway. Then you have a choice here between the new Mareland School for Gifted Unicorns or the new Mareland School for Friendship. I don't tell you guys how to play the game, but I must say the School of Gifted Unicorns is much better in my opinion, because you're getting a 10%, straight up 10% race magic research time plus 10%, whereas new Mareland School of Friendship, that gets into ideology and relation stuff, which is not that big a deal. I guess it could kind of be good for trade, but people are going to probably trade with other people before you anyway, so it plausibly could be good for the economy, but 10% on your race magic tree is pretty sweet. Alright, now, Equestrian Investors, this gives you a very specific design company, the Rich Set Industries, which was really good if you're going to go the tank route, because it's going to help your tanks have better reliability and soft attack, as well as research them faster. The immigration campaign gives you a 5% monthly population boost, which is nice because, population, that is the biggest issue you'll face. And this leads down into the transoceanic support, which gives you as a potential theorist Bookworm, as well as a certain docking company. So like Bookworm here is a 5% research to all, it's just a flat 5% to everything, as well as 7% more on your magic and research time. So you start to see how, depending on what you take, these magic bonuses can start to stack up really quickly in your race tree. And so yeah, you're not getting a military theorist, naval theorist, whatever, and that's giving you 7% in one field. Bookworm's giving you a flat 5 everywhere. You also will get access to the Commonwealth Aircraft Corporation, which reduces everything by 5%. Well, not everything, but it quite a lot of your planes by 5%, as well as increasing range and their attack and their agility and stuff like that. So you can have very elite air force going on here. I'm not just taking these. And then also you can get the Wonderbolts. So this is the one. Now the Wonderbolts, if you know them from the show, they're the elite fighters. You basically can establish a new Mareland division of them, which without reading all of this, it's basically you get a 10% agility to everything. That's addition to other agility bonuses you can get, and then a 5% boost to whatever the primary attacking the purpose of that plane is. So for example, the naval bombers will get plus 5% naval attack, the fighters will get 5% air attack, etc. And you also get a 10% ace generation chance added on. So just ridiculous planes we're talking about here. This National Housing Act is also one of the ways that you modify the Great Depression. After that, you come down here and get Parks and Rec. You could just read those. It's like, basically, do you want building slots or do you want stability? And then after you take one of these, you then can come down to Universal Basic Income, which is the second Great Depression modifier on this path. But it also is going to open up some decisions for you here that everybody gets access to, building the hydroelectric dam, building the first shopping mall, and investing in atomic power. So these all take a while to do. Let's see, did I turn off the FA? Yeah. So these all take a little while to do, so I'm actually not even going to talk about it. Look, because the focus auto complete, it looks like they already attacked me or something. Anyway, yeah. So these are basically more bonus good stuff. That's what you need to know. It's beyond the scope of this. And then finally, at the end, you can take Partners, Not Puppets, which is going to get rid of your Equestrian Overlord effect, which again, half a political power point a day, as well as lowered war support and research. However, this is not going to turn you independent. I want to be clear on that. So as you see, it's gone, but you are still a member of the Dominion. All right, are we clear on that? Good. So that covers it for the strengthening of equestrian ties, and note how economic recovery is now open since I've taken universal income as well as the National Housing Act, and you can get your other research slot. Boom, there it is. There's your 5. Also, another thing, I'm seeing it here. I forgot to bring this up. Equestria is basically always going to lend lease you at the start of your relationship with one another, so maybe you could try to queue up some divisions early, even though you don't have the guns, because Equestria, it's sort of hard to min-max it because the AI is always doing something different every time, but usually they'll just give you any spare guns they have, so even if you're going to break away from Equestria later, it could be a good move to get those guns while you can. Alright. We got Harmony done. Harmony while keeping with Equestria finished. That's one political route we've gone down. We got a lot more to go. Also, there's another focus here I just want to talk about real quick. Or not focus, an event. Waltzing Mule Tilda. So this is something that's going to usually pop up some point in the first year of the game. No matter which path you're on. And This just gives you, essentially, do you want stability, do you want the non-aligned to be more popular, or do you want the communists to be more popular? So just look out for that as a bonus, depending on which path you are going. Now then, continuing on, let's take a look at all the many paths that you could take if you decide to break away from Equestria, at least in terms of being its puppet, or its dominion, I should say. So the other option that you could take is patriation, which will quickly give you some autonomy progress. As you can see, we're at 708 right here. And then this leads into 2 different choices, either Uniting Congress or Recognizing Stalingrad. We're going to first go through all these Uniting Congress branches here. And you have to decide, do you want to support the Harmonists, or do you want to go let all have a say? So if you support the Harmonists, you'll get available as a minister Happy Foster, who is here. He's the Harmony supporter. And you have so many ministers. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I'll just... Juniper Montage is a very good one to take, though. You know, she's basically your silent workhorse, so silent work pony, I should say here. And also, you know, she was a character in the show in Equestria Girls, so that's cool. Although this is, I guess, her pony counterpart. Anyway, so but your ideology boosting ones, and yes, there is a non-aligned, or unaligned, I should say, boosting guy. They all are locked behind what decision you take. These different decisions that you take here, such as Recognizing Stalingrad, let all have a say, or supporting the Harmonists. So, let's take a look at what happens if you support the Harmonists first, which is going to immediately give you a 10% Harmony boost, and you'll get that political advisor available. Now, the thing is, once you've done that, let's do this real quick. You can't go any further, because in order to sign the Declaration of Independence, you have to have autonomy progress over 85% while being a Dominion. Or you could skip it, but let me just show you something else here. We're going to be going into a lot of save files here, everybody, so good thing they've got some great loading screens, right? Oh yeah, one other thing I wanted to show you, though, before we look at the partition. You're going to get an event like this, everything you ever thought you can know about fascism. This is going to boost, you could say it's a good raid, keep it, or Pony Purity, that's just wrong, ban it. Obviously, this is dependent on if you want to go fascist or not, but it is going to pop up regardless of which path you take, just as a heads up. Now then, loading it up again. We're gonna go the pro-Harmony route. Oh, look at that, speaking of Harmony. Yeah, Revolution. So, now there's a couple of ways that you could do this. So, for example, see, we could take the Sign the Declaration of Independence focus right here, but what I've done in this particular save file is I have gotten my autonomy up, and I have saved up political power so I can, you know, become free. So just like that, I am no longer a Dominion of Equestria. I am part of the Alliance, and now, if I try to take the Declaration of Independence, it'll bypass it. So it's up to you which one of those ways you want to take it. It is just a 70-day focus. It is sort of the faster way to break away because you don't have to wait to get 100% autonomy. But hey, you play however you want to play. Maybe there's reasons that you want to do other stuff. You want to be doing other focuses and saving political power, whatever. Now, we have jet set wins. The way that all 4 of these work is their political party, or ideology, I should say, needs to be at 40%, and then you're going to be allowed to select one of these. So you see, we don't have 40% support for the Black Hooves, but we have a 68% support for Harmony, because that's what we started at, and we've been boosting it ever since. Note how I have not taken Happy Foster. You definitely do not need to take him in order to get the jet set wins. So once jet set wins, Jet Set, who I guess I should actually read I'm going to read the bios of all the leaders you can get, because there's quite a mix here, and you know, Featherist, the developer, he did some damn good work here. I believe he's the lead on this particular country, so he deserves it. I'm going to read it. Member of the Canterlot elite, Jet Set is staunchly devoted to the ideals of tradition and harmony. Although his detractors call him out of touch with the common ponies, his business sense is impeccable, and he has the right idea of how to get New Mareland back on track. His decision to accept the princess's invitation to the position of Governor General came from the desire to show his peers that he is more than a shallow socialite, although his beloved wife, Upper Crust, may have encouraged him. Jet Set firmly believes in the motto of keep calm and carry on, and tries to steer New Mareland into a brighter future, no matter the situation. Alright, and now ideological defense is plus 50%, so you're allowing party popularity boosting into multiplayer or something. I guess that could be relevant, but I think it's mostly just what do you call it? It's character building. Like, that's his character. He's a staunch constitutionalist. Then you come down here and you can get your research slot. Over here you get some good trade negotiation stuff. A bunch of people are going to be much more happy to trade with you, so that could be good. Although I didn't even talk about what resources you have. Damn it, I should have done it at the beginning, but yeah, you have access to quite a variety of stuff. Lots of oil, definitely a lot of aluminum. You don't have rubber right away, but you could, you know, get some down there with that one building focus, the resource excavation focus. You also have some crystal, some steel, some tungsten. You basically have it all. It's pretty sweet as far as resource goes, though sometimes you'll find yourself short on steel. You can also befriend the Eastern Ponies. Now, this is something, in case those of you who don't know, for some reason, I've said much earlier how most of Griffonia is made up of griffins, obviously, but there are plenty of ponies way over here in the east, and they've all come together to form the River Coalition, which is basically a defensive pact against the griffins to the west who may try to push them out, most notably the Griffonian Empire. So you can make them like you a lot more. Those you see, you know, even with a different ideology, you're in the positives with them. And then this could lead into you allying them. But you might notice, wait a minute, you can't do that. You can't ally the Federation. Well, that is because if you go Jet Set, even though you've broken away from Equestria as far as being under their thumb, you are still in their faction, but it's just as simple as doing that. To leave the faction, and then that opens up these alliances down here below. So down here, this is when you're modifying as the Great Depression. This gives you some oil and synthetic research bonus, and then there's your other Great Depression. And just like that, you can now take the economic recovery. So basically, you're never going to get rid of the Great Depression until you've set a certain political party in charge. So besides working with the River Federation, which if we let go here, they should let us in. Yeah, I've never not seen them allow the river, allow the Commonwealth into the River Coalition, but so like faction tree now. There you have it. Now you got friends on the other side of the continent, which sometimes could be pretty relevant if you know, you're fighting any of the people here. But you could seek your own path, create your own faction, and this was not an option here, but you could unite with the Republic, but right now it doesn't have a faction. It's still fighting its revolutionary war at the moment, so you're not going to be able to work with them. But I also was taking the focus autocompletes, so by the time you get down there, you should know already if the Republic is alive or not. But those are the friends that you can make. And that is Jet Set! You know what I'm going to do real quick, just to save myself some time? I'm going to start writing down some of these things, like when I'm going in a new section, in order to get the timestamps up and running. All right, next up, we have got political rallies. So this is what is going to happen. All right, well, first off, all right. This is what happens if you take the path where, when it comes after you unite the Congress, you choose to let all have a say. Now, letting all have a say is going to give you a specific national spirit, where Harmony's popularity is going to always be dropping, and fascism and non-alliance popularity is going to always be rising. You also will get the respective advisors available for those. So you're going to get two events here. One is the Appellate Rally, where involving the Duke. The Duke incited heavy public discourse today as he began to advocate his nationalist and protectionist reform ideas once again. The discourse quickly became a full-on rally as local militia soon took part in the rally. Thankfully, local law enforcement was ordered to disperse the rally, and that was presumed to be the end of that. But the Duke will use this incident to his advantage in painting our administration in a bad light. If you want to go to the Duke, you have to go fascist. If you want to go Gladmare or Kingfisher, you want to go non-aligned. We're going to be going the non-aligned paths first, but we will be coming back to this later. Well, not specifically this, but if you want to go fascist, obviously pick the fascists, okay? And if you want, and that's why I'm not going to go over every single event that's going to happen between Let's All Have a Say and when you get enough popularity to come down here and select one of these. Just pick the party you want. Duh. All right, so we're going to do Gladmare now. When the Griffins come to our country, they do not come to help us. They come to take our jobs, benefit from our generosity. This is bad news, folks, and Jet Set has done nothing about it. They have no right to our wealth when new Marelander families are struggling to get by. That's why we're going to build a wall along the border. It's going to be a huge wall, constantly watched by our best. No one gets in. It's going to be wonderful. So, you know, you can... And these events, you're always going to boost something, so go with the one that boosts the party you want the most. So even if you plan on going non-aligned, you're going to get fascist events along the way. Let's jump forward now to the actual election. There we go. Here. So many good loading screens. This is great. Okay, so at this point, notice how we are still a Dominion, even though we've taken the Patriation. And as I said before, you could just take the Declaration of Independence, and then when this finishes up, it'll let you continue on down the tree, and you'll just automatically break away, and you can save yourself the time. But anyway. So, Gladmare. Gladmare wins. Notice how already we have more than 40% support for the Freedom Party. There he is. We were at 52%. That was with me taking all the non-aligned events along the way. So there's really no reason to get Free Flyer, the staunch Republican. This is Gladmare. His effect is that he's a deal broker, so this is going to lower the cost of changing your economic trade and conscription laws. He is in a... Let me get some water. He's an entrepreneur and philanthropist. Gladmare comes from a Novuo rich family, notable for their hotel chains and multiple casino resorts in the beautiful city of Las Pegasus. However, a series of mistakes led to him leaving the city in disgrace, upon which he decided to seek a new area for his businesses. Arriving in New Mareland to examine a golf course he wished to purchase, he saw an opportunity and became determined to personally solve the country's woes in his unique way. Now president of the newly independent Equestrian colony, Gladmare seeks to make this country great again. So he was talking about building a wall. That kind of clues you in on the style of play Gladmare is. He is all about he's about isolationism. So the first thing you do, or one of the two first things you could do here, is you're going to embrace neutrality, which gives you a neutral foreign policy. So basically, you can't join factions, you can't send volunteers, you can't. Well, like there's a tension limit thing, but it's basically, you are not going to be in a faction, and if the AI takes this, it's not happening, ever. They're focusing on peace, but you get a little bit more stability because you're just focusing on domestic affairs. You get a little bit of gambling money here, meaning political power, build a wall and whatnot. National Work Act, this is one of your Great Depression modifiers. Get some industry. Now this is the cool one. Open up our banks. The Griffins are swimming in money, but their constant wars mean that none of it is safe. We should offer a safe place for their money in exchange for protection. All we ask is a little and totally fair fee. So you're going to send out to 7 different countries. And I think it's randomized because every time I do this, it seems different. Or, I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy. But We're not randomized, but yeah, I think there's some countries that always get asked, and then some change. But we're gonna open up our banks, and as soon as you do that, you see here, you're gonna get the answers to everybody, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody say no. So look at that, 5 countries said yes. So Vidina, the Aquilean Republic. Let's move all these over. Okay, so Vidina, up here. Vidina said yes. Phthisia said yes. Here, north of the Griffonian Empire. The Aquilean Republic said yes. So did the Skyfall Trade Federation over here. And the Kingdom of Wingbardy. So I think it's based on... I'm so stupid. It's based on... No, it isn't, because the Republic is harmony. I was going to say maybe it's based on your the political ideology. So I'm not quite sure what determines it. But here's the cool thing. Each of you gets minus 2% on your consumer good factories. So, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. But everybody who also joins is now guaranteeing you. So you have 5 countries guaranteeing you. Some of these can be pretty strong too. The Republic can get pretty strong. Phthisia can get pretty strong. And, again, Wingbardy is you're living your entire life in their shadow. Except for one very specific path. So you have to watch out for that. It always pays to have friends. So that's the coolest part, I think, of this section of the tree. There's the trickle-down theory, which is your second modifier. And boom, 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 boom. There goes your Great Depression. Okay, expanding the mines. This is sort of an interesting one because you get additional prospecting for resources. And then that's it. That's all you get. So very, very defensively minded. But, if you want to stay safe, this is a way to go. All right. Gladmare is done. Uh-oh. You're crashing on me now. We got a ways to go. Coming back over here. All right, let's talk about, well, what everybody's been waiting this whole guide for me to talk about, I'm sure. Let's talk about the other non-aligned candidate, the Kingfisher. The controversial but popular former governor of Celestia has won the race for president. So who is the Kingfisher, you ask? I don't know. He looks so similar. It's like someone from beyond the veil. He's a master maneuver, political power gain plus 15%, so not quite as strong as a dictator, but hey, that's something. He is the Kingfisher, the former governor of Celestia, which is... That doesn't mean like he governed the Princess Celestia. It's talking about... where is it? Friggin' this Celestia, this area here, the south. So, he is the former governor of Celestia, now president of the Commonwealth. He is an outspoken populist dedicated to helping the poor and downtrodden of New Mareland, believing that the other candidates won't lift a hoof to help the truly needy. Kingfisher campaigned for the office on the promise of redistributing the wealth centered in conglomerates and corporations attracted by his pledges. The ponies have elected Kingfisher, and now he returns the favor by implementing his policies. Those policies are a lot of nationalization, every pony a princess, because you got to have a focus with that. You get your, free tuition leads to the research slots, get some infrastructure. There's your first modifier for the, yeah, this is your first modifier for the Great Depression. I'm sure you figured it out by now. It basically goes, modify the Great Depression, something else happens, modify it again. And you also can expand the mines once again, so you do get those additional prospecting decisions over here. Now here's where it gets different though. After you become president of the downtrodden, you have 3 different paths you could take here. You can go neutral nation, which is effectively the same thing as Gladmane's embrace neutrality. Or you can go the Griffin Menace, which lowers your war goal time, and then leads to you going to war with the Aquilean Republic and the things that it will usually swallow up. So basically, these 3 or 4 countries, I should say, right here. You can go to war with them, or you can go to war with striking Wingbardy, who is, of course, your enemy, and that, of course, means you'll also take on the other members of the Pact. But, finally, you have the Stand Against Communism, which can potentially be huge. This will give you war goals against every communist country in Southern Griffonia. So, we've been using a lot of focus autocomplete, and things are always different every single game. So right now, we have just the war goal on Prywin, which starts the game as communist. Although, as you can see, they've already expanded a little bit here. But let me show you guys how far that extends, because it is everybody, and I do mean everybody, who could potentially become communists in South Griffonia. So this could be New Mareland if every single country, and remember now, Equestria War has implemented the custom rules that came with Ironclad, so you can force some of these countries to go communist if you want a certain type of challenge. And of course, technically the war goal is to topple the government, so maybe you could puppet them, but if you wanted to absorb them, all of this could be yours. Although probably not in 1008, unless you're cheating. So that's the Kingfisher's Path. Let's continue to move on. All right. Oops, I'm so sorry. I did that wrong. That was wrong. That was wrong. I don't want to make a cut. This video is long enough. But sorry. Okay. Oh, I labeled this wrong. That's why. All right. So in this particular path, notice how it is later in the year 1008 than what I did before. This is one where I took all the fascist paths, but the non-aligned are very strong if you do Let's All Have a Say. But now, because I've taken all the fascist paths, I can take the Duke Wins. But again, how I said, it's later in the day, I actually had to take marching order so I can get the daily fascism support that would be necessary in order to get this done in 1008. It could actually take much longer. And so this is one of the few times where you probably are going to want to get the fascist, like the demagogue of whatever political ideology you're interested in, unless you want to save that political power for something else. It's totally your call. Anyway, we're going to now take the Duke Wins. Here's Haygle. They changed the portrait some from when I did it before, but he's your dictator, so he gets a plus 25% political power gain. So you're going to get that 150 back, right? Former army general turned politician, Duke Haygle is a strong believer in the maxim of might makes right. His notable oratory skills and personal magnetism have attracted many ponies who are concerned about the hostile Griffin nations to his cause. Prim and proper, he will do everything to keep New Mareland and its ponies safe from the looming Griffin invasion on the horizon. Now, here you go. Just industry stuff. This one's actually pretty interesting, though. BNPL bills. They lower your daily political power, but you get tons of bonuses, like minus 5% construction, minus 5% consumer good factories, and 25% construction speed bonuses for basically everything. Just anything that's related to the military in any way. You then seize control, so this is where you get rid of the Congress. It's going to give you war support, even more daily political power gain. So like, yeah, this is it, as well as the stability. You can then come down here through the Great 3-Year Plan. This is part of the Great Depression thing. You don't have to take Working Patriots or United Shadow Works. These are just extra industry things. Now this one's very interesting as well. Expanding the Storm Ponies is going to give you 2 divisions. Now remember how before I was telling you how the On Hooves division is going to be your main infantry template you're going to want to modify in order to get some good, decent ones. But the SP On Hooves division is automatically a 7-2 with support, engineering, and reconnaissance. So it's sort of an even better base. Although you might have trouble actually building that much artillery. I know that I do sometimes. To like support 7-2s with support artillery as well. Line and support artillery. It's quite a lot. Quite a lot. Now, empowering the army, this just gives them bonuses everywhere. Here's one of your research slots. Then there's working for the nation. Once again, get modify, do some other stuff, modify again. He only gets access to the Griffin Menace tree, although he could take the deal with Duce. He will not here, though, because Biccolini has to be in charge when this takes place. But as we can see over here, they went with Stop the March and a conservative government, so there's the king there. But if it is Biccolini, which it usually will be, you actually, with the Duke, can you can join the faction, which is pretty interesting, and then I guess help build the Wingbardian Empire, or you've just secured yourself forever. And then maybe you can do other things. You can go justify on people, whatever. And then, like I said before, this gives you war goals on the people around you. So you don't have to. You know, you can ally with Wingbardy or you could attack them. It is totally your call. So the Duke's pretty straightforward. Just kind of, you know, yeah, pretty straightforward. Although he also has some interesting stuff going on, as we said, like I said, with joining the pact potentially. All right. Continuing to move right, though politically left, let's go over the communists now. For that, all right. Let's talk communism. The first socialist conference. This is what is going to happen after you take partition and then you're recognize Stalingrad. This will give you the ability to get the communist revolutionary. There he is, Gear Forger. What a name! And the fascist was marching order. How about these names? You know. So anyway, after you form the communist unions, you're going to get a daily autonomy progress gain. Harmony is going to become less popular. Communism is going to become more popular. So getting the communist reformer is just going to stack that. Although, in my experience, communism takes the longest amount of time to turn to. So you might want to pick up the reformer. But again, if you want to save the political power for something else, I understand. So the first socialist conference is what's going to split you into 3 different potential paths here. You have the regular Communist Party, which is already in existence. You can have the Equalists take control under Blueberry Frost. You see, whereas right now they're under Luffy Star. Blueberry Frost is influenced by the ideology of our town, specifically Starlight Glimmer, who brought her brand of equalism communism. So that's what that is. And then you have MARESOC, which, well, I'm sure you all know what that is, and we will talk about that later. But the first, you just take the Communist Party path and let some time go by. Now, there will be a pop-up. Let me... I have it here. Well, we'll talk about it in a minute. I'll talk about what pop-up is going to happen after that later, but you're mostly just going to get a bunch of events over a long period of time that are... They're not options, they're just events telling you what's going on, where communism gets more and more popular, and eventually you can peacefully do the referendum to become communist. So here we are, if you had taken that top path, the Democratic Ponies Republic of New Mareland under Luffy Star. Sorry, I said Luffy earlier, got One Piece on the mind. She is your grassroots populist who only gives you a 5% political power gain, but that's still something, but you get 10% more monthly population. Hailing from an average middle-class family that had resided all their lives in Sunset, Luffy Star became attracted to the nascent communist ideology when she was introduced to it in a college lecture. From then, she became enamored with the idea of introducing socialist values to New Mareland ever since. Her drive and action have resulted in the former Governor General declaring that the ponies have spoken. Since then, she leads New Mareland in her vision of the Stalingradian socialism. Now, you'll notice you're actually still of Dominion. You're still a part of Equestria and in the faction. So to do that, you could break off the old-fashioned way, but the way to do it, the proper way to do it, is you then burn Celestia's portraits. Should happen instantly in this case. And there you go. New Mareland denounces Celestia, down with the princess. Long live the revolution. And just like that, you have no faction, and we are totally independent. Cool. So once that's done, you're going to have 3 paths you can go on here. You can join with the United Ponies Internationale, in which you will invite Stalingrad into a faction with you. Now, you will not be joining their faction. They will be joining one you create. So you will be the leader of it. I just want to make that clear. Or you could do the True Workers' Paradise, where you just make your own faction. So in a way, these are kind of the same. It's just a matter of if you want Stalingrad to come in or not. And remember, this could potentially not be on the table because Stalingrad has to be communist in order to do this. And it is possible for them to go Harmony relatively early in the game. Or even if it's later in the game where if maybe you didn't turn communist right away, you were doing other stuff first. Just a heads up. Now, if you also do create the True Workers' Paradise, even though you're not going to be able to form a scientific community with Stalingrad, that's one of the perks of doing this, you do get the Workers' Paradise gives you more stability and less consumer good factories. So it's sort of a case of which one you want to do. But let's take that for now. Whoops. We don't have the... It's autocomplete. Just a second. I think this is now officially the longest guide I've ever done. even longer than the Australasian one, actually, funnily enough, in Kaiserreich. So then you can modify the Great Depression, industry, building slots, research slots, pretty standard, you know. Until you get down here to the final revolution, which is going to give you 5% more recruitable population factor. Said so many times, population's a problem. Division recovery rate also goes up. Recovery rate is another consistent theme with the Commonwealth of New Mareland. And this, again, leads you down to the wars with Aquilea or Wingbardi. So, you know, you get a real sense of who you're going to be fighting. And believe me, if you don't fight them, Wingbardi's still coming after you.
How do I hold a gun with
So,
this?
let's check out another path now. Just a second. So first off, we're going to look at the Socialist Republic again. We're going to talk about going Equalist. So when you go Equalist, you'll notice over here that is now the name of the communists, and their party leader is specifically Blueberry Frost. I just wanted to make that clear. Now, this is also going to happen after you take the regular communists or socialists, whatever the heck you want to call them. You're going to, after a little bit of time passes, get this event. MARESOC denounces the Socialist Alliance. Supporters of MARESOC simply differ too much from the rest of the Socialist Alliance. They do not allow for compromise and seem to have lost all reason instead of banding together with their fellow allies on the left. They have decided to prepare for their final struggle alone should the government act on these threats. You could leave the communists to solve their own problems, or we will make these troublemakers see the light of equality one way or the other. That's going to hurt your stability. If you leave it to solve their own problems, there seems to just be a chance that MARESOC will rise up. Now, I guess I sometimes call this a civil war. Go watch my Equalist campaign that I've got on my channel by the time you're watching this. And you'll see that the MARESOC Civil War triggers there. When that happens, you can choose to play as MARESOC, or you could choose to stick with the Commonwealth. And then after the war against the MARESOC, who are painted as like this super extreme group, well, they are very extreme. They're fucking crazy, as you'll see. Sorry for cursing. You'll then still be able to go Equalist later in the referendum, just like you would, because there'll be a referendum decision available, just like you would when you are communist. Okay, I'm getting tongue twisted here. It's a long guide, but okay, what I'm trying to say is, if you go Equalist, there's a chance you'll fight a civil war. It will not always trigger. I'm not exactly sure what causes it to trigger or not. It seems to be that it'll just pop up if you take too long. But afterwards, when you go Equalist, as a heads up, because there's just this little bug, if the war happens, as of the time of this recording, maybe they're going to patch it, but if the war happens, when you go Equalist later, after you win, Blueberry Frost will not be the party leader. The game will generate somebody randomly. The events all seem to be the same. The tree is the same. Just the portrait itself changes. Just that tiny little bug, just so you're not wondering where the heck Blueberry Frost is. Anyway, let's go check out Team Equality. And Team Equality itself has two different paths that you can go down. And you should go check out my guide on that. But so this is Blueberry Frost. This is who you should get. Blueberry Frost was one of many who participated in Starlight Glimmer's idea of equality, but Starlight was exposed as a fraud. This did not deter Blueberry, who fled across the sea in search of a new ground to spread equality, which would this time be honest to its ideals and ensured no pony was left behind in poverty. Tired of being trapped in the woes of economical depression, ponies have chosen her to resolve New Mareland's issues and lead them to a new, equal time. So when you are Equalist, you have Memories of Our Town, which is over here, and we've talked about it being part of the show. This is going to increase your daily political power gain, and your autonomy progress goes up as well as communism support. Of course, autonomy progress doesn't matter once you're free. So you also are going to get a new focus tree here. So, it's cleaned up all that. This was an amazing feature, by the way. I was so happy when they did this. Now, as you can see, I've already taken some of this stuff. That's what this is. It's just pretty standard economy things. And you abolish the bit, which is going to help with the Great Depression. Then you have two choices. You can either do equality within reason. This gives you political power out of the gate. Or you can go total equality, which is actually going to hurt your stability. Equality within reason leads to a 20% more monthly population, as well as increasing your stability. There's your research slot. Equal workers' rights. This is not the Great Depression thing, but it cuts in half the cost of changing your economy laws, so that's pretty cool. Consumer good factory reduction, more stability. Equal defense training is really good for a defensive war. It gives you bonuses on your core territory. More stability and political power before finally coming down to equality for all, which entirely gets rid of the Griffin minorities. You'll notice if like you look over here, you probably didn't notice it at first. The two, as far as dealing with the Griffin minorities effect, they're both gone now because you're going to get equality for all. So you eliminate the reduction in your recruitable population, and also increases your non-core manpower by plus 5%, as well as giving you another 25% political power gain and stability. So super, super powerful finisher here at the end. And then you go to spread equality, which lowers your generate world goal tension limit by 40%. So like, let's look at that in action real quick. So right now, 5% world tension. If I wanted to justify on, it would take me 240 days to justify on Wingbardy right now. I come down here. It now takes. Wait, what? Okay, I guess it takes like a day to go into effect. Whoops. Okay. Well, oh yeah, and then this is just some. Oh, this is just another little flavor thing. You just can change your name over here. So like, name it Blueberry. Okay, let's try this again. You what? Am I doing something wrong? Oh, I'm sorry. It was the tension limit. I'm getting this confused with something that's later. My bad. I need to take more notes. Anyway, now no matter which path you take, you have equal road distribution. So this is sort of a funny one. It turns all your infrastructure to 5. So, for example, if we look here, Sunset has 6. Harvey here has 2. This has 2. This has 1. Once we take equal road distribution and come back here, everything's 5. It could be net gain, net loss. It just depends on when you take it and why. But you need to take it at some point in order to get rid of the Great Depression over there. To modify it as needed. Same old. Go down to the economic recovery. But let's look at the other path you can take. Well, I suppose we don't have to actually load up for this one. But going back. You could also take total equality. Now this hurts your stability, but you'll get some of it right back when you get equality camps, and that's also going to basically guarantee that eventually the country will be 100% communist. You get this equal population redistribution thing, which I'll let you read the numbers, but basically you're trying to even out the playing field across the whole country in terms of population, how many people are where. Equal talent's kind of an interesting one because you'll lose your race magic research time, so it hurts if you're trying to do that, but you get bonuses to your production efficiency as well as a reduction in consumer good factories. Equal conscription, that gives you a 1% recruitable population, so hey, between that and the Namcat Spirit, who needs conscription laws, huh? Kidding, of course. But this will also increase your recruitable population factor by 20%. This gives you half a political power point over here, as well as this was the Justify War Goal Time bonus. That's what I was getting it confused with. Equal Science gives you your other research slots. Smile gives you a bunch of bonuses to your stability, war support, and political power. And of course, no matter what, you still come down here to the spread equality. And that is how you go Equalist. All right. One more to show you. Obviously, to go MARESOC at the Socialist Conference, you pick the MARESOC Path. So, the coup has happened. We have readied our militia, and we've secured the loyalty of many officials, etc., etc. There it is. So, you become MARESOC. It's peaceful. There's no war in this situation. But you get a very important national spirit. Anarchy. This cuts by 50% your dockyard output, research speed, factory output, stability, and resource gain efficiency. It's going to give you another 50% in consumer good factories. Your recruitable population factor is going to go down by 100%, which is not going to put it at 0 instantly because they have to demobilize down to that. But it's a problem, obviously, and your monthly population will go down by 15%. However, you can get rid of that pretty quick with your brand new MARESOC focus tree, and as you see, it is completely brand new. And there are tons and tons of fun things here. Fun in quotation marks. But you want to pay attention to this part of the guide, especially if you're going to do MARESOC, because it's a lot of, you don't want to accidentally spend money on something that you're going to just change later anyway. So for example, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to trade your trade law to closed economy. So don't go changing it to something else before you do that. Now, there's not a reason that your trade laws are blocked. You could change them later, but at least initially, like, it just depends on how you want to. That gets into complicated stuff, but keep an eye on it, because all three of these are going to change. You're going to get a purge, which is just going to ruin your military. Minus 50% organization, minus 50% division recovery speed. Also minus 75% research speed and training time plus 50%. But don't worry, you can fix it later. Reclassing the population is going to be one of your Great Depression modifiers. And then begin mind control is where you finally get rid of the anarchy. It's also going to give you the Ministry of Love. And Big Sister will get the dictator trait. Let's talk about Big Sister real quick. The two aims of the party are to conquer the whole surface of this world and to extinguish once and for all the possibility of independent thought. There will be no loyalty except loyalty towards the party. There will be no love except the love of Big Sister. There will be no laughter except the laugh of triumph over a defeated enemy. So, she now gets the dictator thing once you've done that. And then you have available here the Ministry of Love. Which I think is not that great, but you have some other ones here. You're going to get all these ministry things opened up. And you're going to want to keep track, incidentally. I haven't been going over every single friggin', designer and whatnot, but a lot of these are locked behind certain paths, so you might want to check those out on your own time. So for example, the Rich Set Industries, well, I did talk about this one, but like you can only do that if you go the Equestria Path, or specifically getting the investors. Okay, so then you have a few ministries here. You have the Ministry of Truth. Yeah, these just open up. Well, this one also modifies the Great Depression, but these all will just open up those ministers I was just talking about up here. War is Peace is a pretty interesting one. This is, of course, the famous lines: war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. War is peace. Look at these modifiers. War goal tension limit minus 75%. Justify war goal time minus 75%. Offensive war penalty stability modifier plus 90%. Defensive war stability modifier plus 90%. So before I take that, one sec. Notice how we're in the negatives on political power, by the way, so that's why I gotta do this. Just give me a bunch. No. 250. 60. That's more my speed. I like that. So War is Peace, very, very good for if you want to start moving fast. Freedom of Slavery is also very good, plus 20% political power gain and 10% production efficiency cap. And then Ignorance is Strength just gives you another 10% for your stability and your war support as well. We're going to come back to Golden Host Betrayal, but over here is the Ministry of Peace. This is going to give you some communist generals, which I know I haven't been really showing the generals, but there are some interesting ones here, no doubt. The 3 communist generals you get here, they all have one of my favorite traits, Promising General, which gives another 25% to leader experience gain. There's also some other interesting unique ones here, like Mayor of Action and Thunder Pony. Military placements. This is going to move your mobilization to service by requirement. So, again, don't spend money. Don't spend political power if you don't need to. And then recovery will finally get rid of that awful, awful purge. See, it's gone. Over here, the Ministry of Plenty. This again is just well, this is the key one. This sends you to total mobilization. So you're gonna want to keep an eye out on what you do first. But if you're already at 0, maybe you just want to go to total mobilization anyway, and then you come over here and get the the switching of your conscription law and things like that. Just figure out what you want to do. Economy stuff, resources, etc., etc., the mini plenty quotas, and so forth. Now, you're only going to be able to go down to variable productions, and you still will have the Great Depression, you'll notice. So you have to go in here to Gold's Hoof Betrayal, which is going to give you more daily communist support. So this is going to basically replace your minister, as well as give you stability and war support. Now, he doesn't literally replace them. You're going to have to actually change them out, but figure out which like ministries you want or something. By the way, they're all only 50. All your ministries. Maybe you can juggle them if you want. Thought Police is another really good one. More communist support. Here is one of those electronic bonuses like you would get with the original tree for New Mareland, where you get the, it's giving you stability, but also the reduced by 2 years ahead of time research bonus. So that could be good for, you just come over here and get way down here way sooner. Then the three classes, this is what's going to get rid of the Griffonian minorities, so you're no longer getting that effect of losing recruitable population, as well as increasing your stability. Then you get Big Sister is watching you, that's just even more stability. Look at how high this stuff is now. Bread and circuses, more stability and more support. And then finally, planned poverty. If everyone is poor, then logically no one is poor. And that gets rid of the Great Depression. Okay, we're nearly done. Notice how war support's at 100% already. Just from taking all this stuff. Just in case you're thinking about inflating it artificially, you've got focuses for it. Then you have your Army, Air, and Navy tree. The Navy stuff is pretty straightforward. Nothing really spectacular here, other than it's kind of leaning you towards submarines in a variety of ways. MARESOC Army, this is the key part here. You're going to get a bunch of bonuses, but it's specifically for Mass Assault Doctrine. Your Army experience gain is going to drop. So is your organization and planning speed. But you also get more recruitable population factor. And these are all the waves. More research bonuses. You get 3 here. Research bonuses. Because, it's going to take you a while to come down here. So you got to catch up. Although remember, Wingbardy's coming. You don't have much time. Wave of Production's nice. Lowers your infantry equipment and towed artillery costs. And then there's Military Leaps, which is going to give you your research slot and also some big 15% bonuses to nukes, electronic research speed, and rockets. But your industrial research speed is going to take a big hit at 50%. Your monthly population is also going to go down a bit, as well as your stability. But, okay. You got some air doctrines, kind of the same as what was in the other tree. Balefire here, though, is where things get spicy. Balefire bombs give you minus 20% production cost on your medium and heavy bombers, as well as plus 20% to their strategic bombing and ground support. And then Atomic Innovations, 300% research bonuses for nuclear technologies. Are you sensing how the game wants you to play? Having said all of that, you'll notice that you don't necessarily get any goals. So MARESOC is basically, hey, try to world conquest if you can, but you gotta to deal with Wingbardy coming at you first. Also, I forgot which one it was. The Ministry of Peace is also particularly interesting if you're ever interested in doing a big world conquest, or at least the continent. You're going to get a non-core pony power of plus 10%. So that is pretty good since population is an issue. Anyway, woo! There it is. New Mareland. The guide, again, sponsored by Pirate Waffle. Thank you very much to that Patreon. And remember, it's ad-free April. If you want to support the channel, support these guides, because this took me almost an hour and a half to say. How long do you think it took me to research? I'm just throwing that out there. Woo! So, subscribe to me if you have not already. Feel free to support me on Patreon. Tell your friends about this. Share this with everybody. Click all my buttons below. I am Conquering History Games, and you have yourself a wonderful day.